Alright, welcome back to RPG Maker. We have VX Ace and we have RPG Maker MV. So in this video we're going to learn, we're going to pick up right where we left off in the last video, and that is how to create custom skills. So for those of you lucky enough to be in RPG Maker VX Ace, if you go to Tools and Database, you will see there's plenty of skills. Make sure you clicked on the Skills tab that are already here. They've really gone out of their way to make a lot. And if you wanted to, you could go down to change maximum. Instead of 126, I'm going to hit 150, hit OK, and that'll open up a bunch of blank ones. If you hop over to RPG Maker MV and look at the database, you will see that it's pretty empty and that you have to create all of your own. If I click on skills, I am left with 10, so not a whole lot. Good news is it's pretty easy to create anything you want. And so let's go ahead and start with RPG Maker VX Ace. So as you go, if you click on random ones, you can see, if you look, here's the formula and the type of damage, assuming it's for damage and not health. As we scroll through, you can see that it basically says A or B between the actual identifier, and so the identifier is going to tell you. So if I hold it over long enough, it'll tell me exactly what it means. We have ATK for attack power, MAT for magic power, AGI for agility, MHP for max hit points, HP for current hit points, TP for current TP. We'll get into that. We don't really use that unless you want to. DEF for defense power, MDF for magic defense, LUK for luck, MMP for max magic points, MP for current magic points, and then you have level for your level. So what you're always going to want to do is you're going to have to put an A or a B before one of these. The A is the user. The B is the person that you're going against, so possibly the enemy, something like that. So the easiest way to show you how this works is to just go through the ones that are already done and kind of give you an idea. So this one says A, so that's the user, MAT, which is their magic power, times 5, minus B, which is the enemy, MDF, which is their magic defense. So the damage that's going to be done is your magic power times 5 minus their magic defense. And the way you have magic power, the way that it's calculated is by all the weapons that you equip. You can see there's an attack, there's a defense, there's a magic defense. They all have certain parameters that's going to determine how powerful you are. Same with your armor, everything you equip. And so it's going to add up all these numbers and basically use that to determine how powerful your attack is going to be. So if we go up to the basic ones, you'll see a lot of them are pretty much the same. So attack is user's attack times 4 minus enemy's defense times 2. When I move over to dual attack, it's the exact same formula. Double attack, exact same formula. Triple attack, exact same formula. It just does it more times. So, and then attack basically for some of these. It just uses the exact same formula over and over again, and that's really a good jumping off point for you. Because what you're going to do is I would put a formula in, and then during my play test, when I encounter my first enemy, attack and see whether or not it does as much damage as you want it to. And so when you start off your game and you encounter an enemy, generally what I do is I try to make it so that the first couple enemies I encounter, it takes maybe 2 or 3 hits before they die. And then as the game progresses, you're going to want that to be more and more. So you're just going to have to mess around with this. But let's create some just to see what it's like. So if I go to a blank one, 127, and I want to name this anything, so you can get creative and name it, you know, teacher attack or something. I think this was the one we had, the teacher class, right? Let's see. No, that was the other one. So we have warrior, but we'll leave it. Teacher attack. Description, this is where you'll put in a vicious attack if you want to use elements with ice or fire or whatever you want to put. So explain the attack here. Or the skill. It doesn't necessarily have to be an attack. Skill type. This is important. It's either a special attack or it's a magic attack, or it can be none. The important thing that you want to make sure of is if we set it to magic or special, I'm going to hit apply before I leave this page, you need to make sure that your character under classes has that skill type. So if it's magic, he needs to have the skill type magic or he will not be able to cast it. So it looks like that character is good that we assigned. How much do you want in points? How much should this cost to cast? Now you're probably going to start, your character's probably going to start with, I believe, 100. So how many times do I want to be able to cast this spell before I have to take some kind of potion to restore my MP? You don't want it to be too much, but you don't want it to be too little that I can just do it over and over and over again. So if you're going to start with 50, I would say maybe 10 is a good number. If you do start with 100, and you can decide all that stuff later on. Maybe I'm going to change it to 20. And then TP also, as you attack people, you gain TP. And there's just this little meter. It's kind of like if you've ever played the Final Fantasy games, it's almost like your limit break when you get hit. And you could also assign TP to a spell so that not only do you have to have this, but you have to have, this pretty much ensures if you give it TP that it's in the middle of the fight. You can't start a battle with this. You have to have been hit or hit them first. It's generally confusing to do that, so I either pick one or the other, and so I'll just leave it right now. Scope. Do I want this attack to hit one enemy, all enemies, one random enemy so that I don't even get to pick, 2 random, 3 random, 4, 1 ally, which is someone in my team? Probably not, since this is going to do damage, but you would pick 1 ally, all allies, if you were to create a spell to heal your team, or the user, which is yourself. Obviously, you're not going to hit yourself. So I'm going to say this is a 1 enemy attack, occasion probably only in battle. Okay, and this is important too, because if you're creating a healing spell, do you want them to only be able to heal themselves in battle, or should they be able to heal themselves no matter where they're at? Speed determines how fast, not how fast it's cast, but whether or not they can cast it before the enemy attacks them. And then success, if I cast this thing 100 times, how many times is it going to be successful? How many times do I want it to repeat? And then TP gain is what I was talking about earlier, where if every time I do this, I gain 10 TP, then if my other spells that require, so let's say I have a spell that I want to cast that requires 20 TP, I would have to cast this one twice to give myself the TP to cast the next one. It sounds more confusing than it actually is. Once you start playing, you kind of get used to it. Hit type, it'll be a certain hit. There's also, you can make it a physical attack or a magical attack, up to you. Animation, this is where we get to pick what it looks like. So what do I want this to look like? And there's a lot. And if you want to see what all these look like, make sure you're always hitting apply. All you do is go to animations. And let's go to, let's see here. Let's go to hit 2 physical. What does this look like? So I'll play. It just looks like a slash. All right. So here's another like slash special. That's a little over the top. I think I'll just stick with my hit 2 physical slash. So what I do then is I go back to skills, animation. I have to find the one I just clicked on. Hit 2 physical. All right. Now it's going to say you get the opportunity to have the game say whatever you want it to when you use this. So it'll say, when it says username, so if my character is Brian, it'll say Brian, uses his teacher attack, or whatever you want it to say. Now down here on the required weapon, you can make it so that a skill can only be used if you have a certain weapon. So let's say that this attack was an attack with a sword, like a slash. Well, I can make it so that the only way you can use this is a sword, because it doesn't make sense if I don't have the special sword. How am I going to do a sword slash? So you can change that up if you want, or maybe it's an attack with anything, a book or something special. Now we go to the damage. What type of damage? I want it to be HP damage. Now this is where if you want it to be attached to an element, again, I rarely pick these, but if you wanted to, so let's say it was like a torch that you were using, then I would obviously add fire to that. And then with some of your enemies, you can make them weaker to certain things, like if they're in the snow or something. But this will just be normal attack. Now the formula. Now this is the part that looks the most tricky, but really if you simplify things, it's not. And so we're going to start off with A, which is the user, period, ATK for attack. Okay, after that we're always going to have a space. And now I have to decide how much do I want this to be. You can stick with the normal formula that the other ones were using, or you could try to up it a little bit. So if I'm going to say our attack, do the asterisk as a multiplication, another space, and then pick any number you want. I'm going to go with 5. Okay. Another space. I am then going to, so far it's going to do the amount of damage according to my attack times 5, and then it's going to subtract from that user B, which is the enemy, their defense power, DEF. And I can leave it at that, or I can say that that's going to be multiplied by 2. Okay, I'm going to hit apply. And so if you go up and check, okay, so it looks pretty much the same, right? It's more simplified. This is kind of way more complicated. So if I go back to teacher attack, now do I want to add any special effects to this? So for instance, maybe I have a special weapon that if I hit you with it, it does something to your state. So I can add a state. I can poison you, I can silence you, maybe it stuns you. So let's just put in poison because that's the most common one. The percentage that you're going to want to do is the success rate. And so I wouldn't normally do 100 unless you're pretty positive. Like if you're going to give these, you can give these same skills to enemies too. So if you're going to make a skill that they're going to be able to use against you, I would only use 100% if I was positive that my characters had armor that could block that. Otherwise, you're going to get into a position, I don't know if you've ever played an RPG game, where someone casts a spell on your party, every single person in your party falls victim to this, and they just slowly sit there and either are poisoned to death, or maybe the enemy puts you to sleep, and then they just attack you until you eventually die, and then you can't do anything about it, and it's really frustrating. So I would say a normal thing would be 50%. Especially if you have 3 party members, then 1 or 2 of them will fall victim to this, and the other ones can still either heal you of it or kill your enemy before it kills you. Variance right here is going to give you an idea of the degree. It says the degree of variability. So if this attack formula equals 100 with a 20 variance, that means that it's going to go up or down by that percent. So if this attack equals 100, in the actual game, you're either going to land an attack that's going to do about 80 damage or 120 or anywhere in between. And then critical, yes or no. Sometimes your character can land a critical attack that will do way more damage than normal and often kill the enemy. So 20% variance is good. Anywhere between 20 and 10 is normal. Alright, so this all looks good. I can even add 2 weapons if needed. but we have the name. We'll throw in the description. Now lastly, I will pick the icon depending on how I think the skill is going to look. So it's just a normal attack. I didn't give this one anything real special. It's a teacher attack, so you can kind of go off education. So I might even use this little book as the icon. Okay, apply. And everything's good. So that is the RPG Maker VX Ace one. It's similar in MV, so same thing. I will call this let's call this the torch attack so I can show you how to do something. Torch attack. So I already know what this one's going to be, so I'll go ahead and pick the icon now. It's probably going to be fire, obviously. So you can go through, and these are the weapons that you use as those icons, and everything can be used for pretty much anything. And so what you want to do is find one. This one looks pretty good. It's fire. I'm going to real quick look through and make sure there's nothing else that I can use. That one looks perfect. Okay, so there I have my torch. A quick attack using your main light source. Okay, and what you can do is real quick, if I jump over to items, and let's create one real fast. And I'll show you how to do this in a separate video, but let's real quick just make a torch in the items. There's the torch. I'm going to use the same. Okay. Description. A torch. I can type, I promise. That allows the user to attack using a fire element. Apply. So you can either do it as an item or you can do it as a weapon. So I'm also going to do that. And I'll show you the weapon first. I'll show you the torch in another video because it's just way easier to do it as a weapon right now. But basically, when you start creating events and conditional statements, that's what you'll do. Whoops. So, torch, same description. A torch that allows you to attack enemies with fire. Okay, so weapon type doesn't really matter. Let's see which one fits the best. Let's just go with a spear for now. Not worried about the price. Animation, now I get to pick again. I'm just going to pick one that has fire in it. Fire 1. There we go. I can change the attack parameters. So this is all what boosts my stuff. Again, this will be in a later video, so it's not that important. Apply. I just want to show you the skill. Alright, so now under torch attack, required weapon type, it's going to have to be the spear that we have. And you, again, like I said, you could do 2 if you wanted to. He uses his torch. Hit type, certain hit, animation, fire 1. Okay, again, do we want it to be magic or special? It's not really magic. We can make it special. MP cost, I'll make it 40 because I want to make it a little bit stronger. So you can see in the RPG Maker MV, they give you, it actually says percentage. Do I want to make it HP damage? Yes. Element, it's going to be fire probably, obviously. And then on the formula, so same thing, we go A dot attack, multiply by, this is going to be a stronger one, 6 minus B's defense, and we're only going to multiply that one by, and you can also use decimals if you wanted to do 0.5. If you ever want to do 0.5 or point anything, you have to put the 0 in front of it or the formula won't recognize it in the game. So you can do 1.5, 0.5, anything like that, and so that'll work. So this is going to be a much stronger hit. Alright, and then under effects, if you wanted to create one, a state, you could, again, it causes rage upon being burned if you wanted to. If you wanted to add buffs to you, maybe if you use it, your magic defense goes up or something like that. or even you can learn a skill. I mean, this is all pretty complicated, but the common event is the one I was talking about for the item. So if you have an item, you have to go create the common event that if it's in your inventory, you can use this skill. It's way longer to do that and way more complicated. It's cool in your game if you can do that, because then you lose the ability to use that skill once you lose the item. So it's kind of a neat thing, but pretty advanced. So for now, we'll just leave it at that. Maybe using this on people recovers my hit points by 10% also. Boom, there it is. So it does good attack damage and recovers 10% of my hit points. Uses his torch, it's all there. Apply. So what we need to do now that we've created both of these is go back to our classes, and we need to make sure that they can use them. And then what I'm going to do is at level 12, he is going to get his torch attack. And you just have to make sure in the game that you give your character the ability to either find that torch or to buy it beforehand. All right. So if I go back now to this one, same thing, classes, warrior. At level 10, he will learn teacher attack. And there it is. And so that's how you create your own custom skills. It'll take a little bit to get used to. It's going to take a little bit of play testing before you can figure out how much to put in each formula. So for example, if you go through and you play this and you attack somebody with the torch and it just deals way too much damage, you have two options. I come back and I just change this 6 to a 5 or a 4 or a 4.5 or something, test it again, or I change the magic or the enemy's defense from 0.5 to maybe 1 or 2 until I find a happy medium. So if it's doing like 300 damage and you only wanted it to do 100, then I would change this probably to a 2, and then see where I'm at. And if I don't like it, maybe 2.5, bump it back up. But that's pretty much it. If you wanted to do a healing one instead of HP damage, you just throw an MP recover for magic recovery or HP recover for a health one. And then you basically have to set the formula up for how you want to. Your teacher should have a worksheet available that's online in the folder where these videos are found. That's just titled the skill formulas. And so you'll be able to look at that and see all of the different ones that you can put. And then from there, you should be able to figure it out and create your own skills.